man, welcome. It's finals week, guys. We made it. There's 4 days left before I am just enjoying watching Jack eat that Oreo, man. You just savor the cream, bro. Do it. All right, enough jokes. So I am old. Does anybody know how old I am? You can't guess and you can't guess. 24? 23?
21. 30.
You can't guess. You weren't supposed to guess.
Sorry.
Gosh. I'm 21. But I've been out of college for a year and 3 days now. And when I was at Mankato, I was very blessed to be on the fearless team of leaders at Hustle. We were called many things. Sometimes leaders, sometimes facilitators, sometimes buffoons, sometimes organizers. But at the end of the day, what we did was always the same, and that was get people together to help them grow. And so I have been in Exodus from this Hustle group that I was in for 2 years. And I'll walk through some of the early day history of Hustle that we'll get to hear about today. And kind of talk about that and then kind of what the phases looked like to where we are now. But I'll also talk about, as someone that was in those seats a year ago, where either you're just about to graduate or maybe you are going to graduate in a year or 6 months or whatever, I just want to share some things I learned that I wish I knew when I was in college. So that's kind of the thrust of this talk. It's not going to be that long, maybe 15, 20 minutes at most. So buckle in for some stories for this next one. So who am I and what am I doing? Well, you know my name hopefully by now. You know that I have some affiliation with the band Creed, but you probably haven't figured it out yet. I'm Brandon. I grew up in Plymouth, Minnesota, had a pretty humble upbringing. I went to Izetta High School, but I didn't drive a Jeep or a Tesla, so I was normal. And came down to Mankato. I didn't plan to be here, but I ended up here. And I spent the whole first year asking, what am I doing here? Like, why am I here? What's my purpose for this place? And I made some really cool friends my first year. My random roommates were Quinn and Jay, if anybody in here knows those people. Just good guys. Quinn is, I think Jay graduated as well. But we got together and we had a good brotherhood. And we had a lot of good friends. And I tried dating a lot of girls and none of it worked. The first year of college was a huge up and down for me, like a ton of up and downs. And a lot of that was from school. A lot of that was from, like feeling lonely because I didn't have my friends from back home anymore. Some of that was from my ex. She was 3.5 years older than me, so there was a lot of figuring out to do. She was graduating and moving to the cities to get a job, and I was, here with school, still with 2 years left. And so it was a super difficult time, and all these different things were going on. But on March 17th, 2022, I was sitting in the dining center with a friend that I had met a couple weeks earlier. And we were sitting eating some of that awful food. It is decent, but it looks so bad on the MSU Dining Instagram page that it's just... Cody runs the Instagram page, so you didn't know. No, it's amazing. Other than pizza, no one can make that look good, but it does taste good.
Dip the pizza in ranch.
Cover your sorrows in saturated fat. That's what I'm hearing. Okay. No, you've done awesome with that, Cody. It's been phenomenal. Yeah, the Fortnite one. Gets me every time. Oh my gosh.
That was so good.
That was crazy.
Face onto the mask card.
That was nuts. But anyway, March 17th, 2022, Cody and I we had just met each other and become friends. And we were sitting there talking about life, talking about faith, talking about girls, talking about dining center food, everything. And we kind of just were like, we don't see any group that fills the gap that we're looking for. There were groups of this kind, there were groups of that kind, there were groups that had some great influences, there were groups that had some not great influences. But what the common thread was, we just wanted to get some guys together to grow. And that's all that it was about. there didn't need to be some separate agenda like Max said. Sure, we're faith-based guys, but there didn't need to be some secret plan to convince people about it. There didn't need to be some whatever. But we just wanted to grow with people and build relationships. That's what it was all about. So Hustle was born, and we kicked it off that fall, and Cody drew us an amazing logo that is still a logo to this day, which I think is so dope. And that is a picture of one of our very first nights. And it was at Cody's apartment, and we had disco lights going, and we had, I don't know what the blue light was from, but maybe just the TV. I can't remember.
I think so. That's such a cool picture. It looks sick,
though. Yeah, that was the night. It looks like that was like the craziest thing ever, but it was like 7 people. And we just used bottles, like empty bottles, like ketchup bottle from a restaurant, put pancake batter in them, colored them, and just made cool shapes on a griddle. And us 8 guys had a fantastic time hanging out. That was it. It was simple, but relationships were built that are still there to this day. And I'm sitting on the floor right there. Jay's next to me. Caleb is there. I'm still friends with Caleb, and there's no one else that I see in that photo because it's from an angle. But anyways, so that's just a little bit of the start, and then all of a sudden it just kind of took off, and people loved the idea, and that is why it's still here, is because the guys need community.
I think that's Garrett's nose in the bottom right corner. I think that's Garrett's face.
Yeah. Maybe. I don't know. I can see it. Oh, I see what you mean. I thought you were blowing smoke, but that's...
Looks like him, right?
That totally is Garrett. Garrett is the only person that was at our very first meeting and he was been here the longest. Garrett is an accountant. He was roommates with me for 1 year, if you don't know him. He's awesome, and he's famous for saying, "Oh yeah." Okay, so that happened, and then we became an official RSO on campus, and so we were able to hang up signs, we were able to reserve rooms, we were able to table, we were able to do all these amazing things, and the group was amazing, and it still is, and that we've had the opportunity to mentor a lot of amazing young men, and we have been mentored, and we've learned too. Hustle has always been a place where it's not just about what the leaders think. We're open to feedback and have always been open to not just mentoring, but being open to other people giving us ideas on how to grow. So then it became a thing. People were going to Hustle on Mondays, and that was crazy. And that is still crazy that there's people in here. Like, this was just an idea, you guys. It started in my apartment with 3 dudes, me and Cody, in a bag of frozen bratwursts. That was the start. And you and I were like, what the frick are we doing? I'll never forget it. But now there's all this stuff, and there's so many designs and so many things that have been created, and there's a sister group now called Refine that exists, and there's new leaders taking that over, so the founders are graduating, and so it's amazing. They're cute. There's a goalie, but you can try and shoot. So that's a little bit of the backstory, and then this is my very last day at Hustle last spring. That was the Hustle. What was it called, Max? The How to Hustle. How to Hustle. Yeah, the Hustle send off, and then that's when I graduated. Those are my folks. They're awesome, amazing people, and love them. So that's a little bit of who I am, and kind of some backstory on Hustle, and it's been a lot of different things, but it's just still my favorite part of college and a huge part of my heart. So what am I doing now? Well, currently I work for Rise Innovations, and we do custom home and business integration of technology. So if you can see this little light box right here, it's got all the things that we do for businesses and homes. And in this room, we would do the speakers, we would do those things with the blue lights on them. Those are called wireless access points. Those serve as each as an individual Wi-Fi connection, but they mesh together to be one. We would do the lighting, we would do the projector, we would do all of the lights along the aisles, we would do the switches, we would do the clocks, we would do the exit signs. So that's what we do. And then on the residential side of things, my first week at work, I went in a $5 million house on Gull Lake, where we had a full sound system, full light system installed. In addition, they had some crazy technology, like smart radiators on the 3-season porch. So you could be out there in the winter. Like $4,000 a radiator. These things were just in the ceiling. It was nuts. And now we are currently working on our biggest project of the year, which is an entire performance hall with DMX cabling, which is like actually theater quality stuff. So there'll be performances in this high school up in the cities. And our most expensive house, because I think the biggest numbers are interesting. If you guys don't, sorry, but these are not houses that we've done, but we have a house in Florida that looks like the one above there that just sold for $17 million. And we have all of the tech in there, and it's just so much fun. And then if anybody knows Sam Christensen, he was a hustler for about 1.5 years. He worked at Rise for a couple weeks while he was searching for a financial advisor role. And I do marketing and sales for them, so I designed all of these different components. So I designed the table wrap, I designed the light box, I designed the graphics for the back felt wall, I designed the video that's running on the TV, I designed our business cards, I designed our brochures, all with not enough time of a warning, because that's how it works when you get hired and they say trade shows in a week or 3 weeks. Go for it, figure it out. That sucked, but we figured it out. So that's what I do. And that guy next to me, his name is Taco. So I told a little bit of backstory, I kind of jumped ahead, but I just want to be clear that Max might have the hype, but Hustle will never be perfect. It's never a group that's going to get everything right. No group is ever going to get anything right. And there's been different phases. We didn't have a sister group at one point. We had 5 facilitators at one point. We had nights like the hot dog eating contest that were huge, and that's coming back this fall, right, Max? Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay. So there's all these different phases that it's been in, but overall, you guys, I learned that in my mind, I had a perfect idea of what a group should be like. And the reality is, it's more like climbing Mount Everest. There's acclimation, trying to get used to where you're at. There's getting your bearings at the bottom. There's getting used to what every single week of this feels like. There's all these different phases to the group. And I really think that it's super easy to, whether you're starting a company or a group or a community or even a relationship, to just try and go for the perfect thing right away. In reality, I think you hit 80%, then you go to 70, then you go to 85, then you go to 65, and it's just this process of growing and learning. And I would like to say that, and I hope that everyone in this room knows that you are a part of helping us grow, and Max and Hunter are so amazing because they are open to growth, and not a lot of leaders or facilitators are that way. So that's my 2 cents on the backstory of Hustle. So here's what I learned. We're over halfway done, I'm pretty sure. Hustle was an innovation. It was an idea that didn't exist. We created it. And this is just learnings, right? These are things I learned from being a part of starting Hustle. Innovation is not like other tasks. When you're creating something new, when you're constantly coming up with new game ideas or new welcome ideas or new topic ideas, those just aren't things you can do running on fumes. Those aren't things you can do just at the end of the night when it's 11 p.m. and you're on your second white monster listening to Creed. You just can't do it, as much as that is superpower. Innovation is not like that. You need a set aside dedicated space. And that's what we always do that. And that's what's always a part of our meetings was innovation time. We would talk about what could we be doing better? How could we grow as people? How could we focus, make sure we're not veering from our vision too much as a group? And so that's if you ever start a group, if you ever start a company, set aside time to innovate. Set aside time to create new ideas that actually solve the problems. Because the reality is, we had people coming into our group every single week, and you still do. They know what they like about this group. And if you listen to that feedback on your product or your company, or even if you're a salesperson, if you listen to feedback on your sales pitch or whatever, you're constantly refining with the source of the information that will help you get it right. And I would say that in any group or company, innovation is necessary for survival. I don't think it's an option. Companies like 3M that haven't invented something in 20 years, like the Post-it note was their last big invention, and then other adhesives categories since then. If your dad works at 3M or your mom works at 3M, that's great. I think it's a cool company, but that's just kind of the joke in the cities, is 3M hasn't innovated since. 3M or like 1M? So you have to innovate, and that's why have always been. I mean, the gauntlet idea came from innovation. The hide and go seek came from innovation. All these crazy games we did, and even the format that's followed most weeks at Hustle, that came from innovation. Welcome activities, all innovation, and that requires dedicated space and energy. When you're innovating, feathers will be ruffled because people in this world do not like when what they're used to gets shaken up. There's a lot in the business world. If a small company innovates and creates a brand new solution that's amazing, like let's say you come up with a software that can automatically show you your emails in such a way that you get done with them in 5 times the speed. Some weird Polynesian company comes up with it or something. Microsoft is just going to buy it because they have all the money in the world and they're going to integrate it into Outlook. They're not going to go in the business of building their own thing because they could just throw a few million billion at it. So in the business world, you don't see this as much, but sometimes you do see it where an innovation that displaces other companies makes them not so happy. And then you hear these crazy stories of politics and dirty money, and none of that stuff happened at Hustle, but there were times when we changed the way things were happening or the way we had done things, and people didn't like it. But they had to see the innovation, they had to see the new idea and why it was why it was an improvement on what was previously done for them to understand why it mattered. I don't know if Max is running dirty politics here, but you'll have to ask him.
Maybe he's not, but somebody else sure is.
Hunter.
But I would just say, if you ever create something new that's an amazing idea and someone comes at you and says, poo on you, you're probably right. It probably is an amazing idea, and they're probably just coming after you because you are going to get rid of or damage whatever they think that they have or whatever they have. Be careful with that. Keep your eyes out. Brains are meant for creating ideas, not storing them. Cody, how many freaking lists did I create for Hustle? Oh! Lots of lists. Lots of lists. And I'm like, let's implement a project management software. Cody's like, I just want to hang with my friends, man. Yeah, oh gosh.
Monday.com?
Yes, bro. They stink now. You have to pay for like everything.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I use ClickUp now.
Me and Max started to try and work on there, and then we were like, oh man, we got paid for it.
Yeah, I'll show you ClickUp. It's really good. But whenever you have a great idea, and you could tell the common theme here, one of the things I'm really passionate about is innovation. I love to create new ideas. I love to solve problems. I love to find gaps that could be filled. So that's because that's what Hustle was when we started it, and still is to this day. So when you have a good idea, resist the urge of your flesh to say, oh, I'll remember it, because you won't. You'll forget it. And that great idea will be lost in the universe forever. Versus, hey, I'm gonna write this down. I'm gonna have a list of notes on my phone. Ideas for improving X. Ideas for improving Y. Whatever it is, right? Write down your good ideas. And whether or not, if you're a spiritual person, it's very biblical to record your wisdom and to act upon it with care. But even if you're not, and it's just a personal thing for you, man, don't look back and wonder what ideas you've let slip away. Write them down, record them. Call a friend, say, man, I had this great idea. Remember that one time we called each other and I was at Panera and we had that whole marketing company we were gonna start? Yeah. And then that never happened. But it's written down, so we could do it if we wanted to. Yeah. So let's do it someday.
Let's do it. Yeah.
What you laughing at, Chinggis?
Don't worry.
Another thing I learned is that I wasn't that special in terms of anything. It just, most people could do what I did, what you did, what you do, but they don't, because people don't act on things. They just think about them and then they say, I should. They think about them and I say, I should do it. They think about something and they say, what if I could? But they don't get together and they don't create actionable plans. Willingness and ability are two very different things. So I encourage you guys, whatever you are considering doing in your life, chances are 100 people have already considered it, but none of them have written it down, or very, very few, because it's just not something that happens because people don't take accountability for their ideas. So writing it down helps you to look back on it and say, do I have the ability to do this? Do I know somebody that has the ability to do this? And are we willing to do this? So there's just some nuggets from my time at Hustle, and I'm so glad to be back. So thanks for having me. This is fun. Okay, so here's what I wish I knew before graduating. I have 4 of these. We're going to talk a little bit about business. So the two-sided mirror of work. Brandon, why are you bringing up mirrors? When you're in college, you have this weird feeling that whatever you're going to school for, you're not ready to do it. Like Jack and I were just talking about this. Like you're going to school, your professional sales certificate, right? Marketing. There you go. It's in sales, right? I don't know if I could do it. And there's this weird fallacy that lives in our brains of once I graduate, then I'll know how to do it, right? Then it'll all click on graduation day. I will be summoned or something. I don't know. But that's actually not the case. The truth is that when you get on the other side of that mirror, you're going to see that this is the same you, almost the same you that it was in college, doing things you never thought you could do. It's just that somebody believed in you and gave you a shot and trusted you or taught you how to do it. But what business really comes down to at the end of the day is value and motion. This is exactly what you're doing in your classes. This is exactly what you guys have done your whole lives, hopefully. Do you bring value, and do you move projects, products, whatever you're working on forward? That's school, that's business. In school, motion is getting projects closer to being done. Value is getting a good grade or passing. Are you doing things that get you closer to that value, or are you moving things along and getting them done? In a business, value is revenue. Like I am in business development. I need to generate revenue. So every single thing I do is around generating that. Hint, hint, most of it comes through relationships, like knowing people and connecting with them. Which, great, you're all here practicing that. Amazing. Motion, are you moving projects forward? Boy, I remember when Hustle was just an idea and we were sitting in my apartment at 1 a.m. and we just kept saying, let's just get motion. We have to just get this moving. We just have to get this thing started. And look where we are now. So everything's about value and motion when it gets to the corporate world. One other thing that I want to acknowledge is that especially if you're in a sales role or any role where you're pretty independent with what you're doing, it is super easy to destroy yourself from the inside out. I read a book a couple years ago called Soundtracks by John Acuff, and I strongly recommend it. It's a really, really good book. Basically, what it plays in your head is what becomes the truth you believe. So the things you think to yourself. And if you, let's say you have a conversation with a prospect, if you're a salesperson, and you're like, oh, I don't know if I did well, they didn't buy from me. That very quickly turns into, maybe I'm in the wrong job, am I not good at this? I'm not as good as everyone else, which very quickly turns into, what am I doing with my life? I'm a failure. Like that will happen, in my opinion, especially for guys. It's just a really, really quick downward spiral. It is so easy to destroy yourself from the inside out when you start your career. But we are young, we are learning, there's time. As long as you are creating value and moving things along, just getting motion, even if that's in your own personal development, you are moving in the right direction. And lastly, you are responsible for your life. Duh. But this is a flip here, because when you're at school, when you're in college, you're responsible for what's between the college hours, and then it feels like everything outside of that is just kind of whatever, right? We're just like I don't know, I can't think of a word for it, but if it's parties, that's, that could be you. If it's wasting time, if it's having fun with friends, that's not a bad thing. That's not a waste of time. But whatever is inside of that school, that kind of controls you. But when you leave work, or when you leave school and you go into work, all of a sudden, your boss, your job, between 8 to 5, 9 to 5, they are the ones that are keeping you responsible for that. And then you go home and you feel like, oh my gosh, I could just whatever. I don't have to do anything. But you're going to work every single day for the rest of your life from 21 to 41, or wow, that was the optimistic projection. From 21, from 21 to 61, 65, whatever. So what you're responsible for what you do with your life, and it's going to be after the hours of work because you don't have a say what happens inside the hours of work. So it's not like in school where that time is just like the free time. It can be, but in 30 years, are you going to wish you used that for free time? Or are you going to wish you helped start a nonprofit? Are you going to wish you invested in people? Are you going to wish that you practice skills that would benefit your career and your free time? No one is holding you accountable for that time outside of work but you. And that scares the crap out of me because that is like, I think about what I'm doing outside of work all the time. And I'm like, is this getting me to my goals? Is this getting me to where I'm trying to go? Or am I just going in circles and not going anywhere? You're responsible for your life in college too, obviously, but it's kind of like, there's an end to it. It's like 3 years and then I'll get together, right? Get it together. I'll focus on things. But once you're out of college, it's the same game plan. Work, come home, work, come home, work, come home, go to work, come home. Same game plan for 30, 40, 50 years. So you actually have to decide sooner, at least, are you going to get some momentum going? Are you going to work on some projects? Are you going to build some cool things? Or is it just going to be work the rest of your life? Because it can be, and it is for a lot of people. So I would encourage you, take responsibility for your life. After you graduate, set some goals for yourself. Maybe you want to get swole, whatever. I encourage that not to be your identity. Maybe you want to, chase Hopper around or something. It would be good for him to be off the streets. But whatever you do, and if you want to talk to me about it, like I love to work on ideas with other people and build things out, but Hustle did not start because of what happened during school. Hustle started because of what happened outside of work hours. And there's nobody told us to do it. It was just a conviction, is what I'll call it. So that's what I have. A couple other short notes. Thank you so much for coming and for listening.